following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network.
On this edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr., it's World Series of Bowling time. We're going to take a look at the scores that have been ridiculously high during the Cheetah and Scorpion patterns. And are the animal patterns still good for the game? Have they been figured out? Do they need to be phased out? And we have a lot more to talk about regarding the World Series and, of course, the Imbecile of the Week. Straight Up 5 starts now.
This is PBA champion Kyle Troop.
Hey y'all, Jacob Ledger here.
Jeff Riggles here from 11thframe.com.
Hey guys, Chuck Ritchie here, formerly of Bowl TV.
Hey guys, this is Ryan Schaefer of track staff at Valley Bowling Center in Waverly, New York.
And you're listening to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Yo, the boys from Straight Up 5, Rad Rob, Dr. Ocho, and of course JP Jr.
Pick it out. Fear the fro, baby.
Welcome to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. A hard-hitting, in-depth, cutting-edge look into the world of bowling. This podcast will not only cover all things bowling, but will also give you a raw look into real-life issues. You'll get unfettered access into the mind of one of the most gifted bowlers of this or any other generation.
Strike, and they claim it. Similarly does it.
So without further ado, let's introduce you to the hosts of the show. Rad Rob Francois. Rad Rob Francois. Dr. Ocho. And the incomparable Johnny Petraglia Jr. Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Hey guys, welcome back to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. This is episode 112, and I'm your host, Rad Rob Francois. We already have a stacked house in here. Good evening, Chuck Ritchie, Johnny, Rob, and Ocho. Congrats on your 300th at the Cheetah Championship. Thank you so much, Chuck. It's just, it is what it is, right? I mean, when you got to look, you got to look. Nico says, is it like Oprah? You get a 300 game. You get a 300 game. Chuck says, yes, I got one. I never even left the house. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Greg Tack, one of our former guests. Hello, Greg. Good evening, sir. Amanda Moore, our super fan. What's going on? So Chuck says Ocho had a hard time picking a mask to wear tonight. There's a story behind that, but we won't get into it. It's none of your business. Crambone, what's going on? David Crandall. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Let's introduce the guy you were just talking about. He is the man with many masks. He is the resident doctor of Straight Up 5. He is also the resident house hack at Howell Lanes. The one and only Mr. Dr. Ocho.
I look better this way.
Absolutely. Right? Yes. Yeah, you're an innovator. You're a pioneer. Yep. You're a trailblazer.
This is the mask I'm going to use, except let's just
roll.
Oh no, what happened?
That's not a very popular mask amongst our fans.
That's not their choice.
I mean, that's pretty much
not their choice. What mask are you guys talking about anyway? By the way, Chuck, no, I shot 279. I'm the one guy. Thanks for rubbing it in, dickhead.
Staying, man. What's going on? Pete Cow's in the house. Sperone, you son of a bitch. What's going on? Eric Hodorowski.
That's because Amanda picked it out. Don't she? She's on the internet.
Eric. Yes, Amanda called it. Johnny says.
She told me. She said in the DMs, hey, I got a bet with this guy. I'm going to win 10 grand.
Mike McGlynn, what's going on, brother? Good to see everybody here. Well, not see you guys. Good to have you here in the chat, as always. But we have to bring in the other person sitting in the green room. He's the one that everyone comes here to see. He is the man with the name of the marquee. He is the sexiest man in the world, Mr. Johnny Petraglia Jr. What's going on, Johnny?
No day in paradise, boys. And I like the white mask. Why does anybody like the white mask?
Good guys wear white, man.
Adam Wolf, what's up? Jeff Cox, what's going on, everybody? All of our friends are here. We we have an interesting topic tonight, Johnny, and there's been a lot of talk amongst the Facebook groups. That's twice I've used the word amongst. I'll try not to do that anymore.
It's okay.
Suzanne Marie, what's going on? Very, very high scores to start off the World Series at Thunder Bay. Especially one pair that had, 2 300 to 279, and poor Chris Vi only shot like 230. But
It was actually a 297 to accompany the 2 300s.
Okay. That's a little bit ridiculous. I do have some stats here that someone sent to me. Oh, hold on. We'll get to that. That's a Scorpion. We'll get to that in a second. Round 1, 300 games. Tim Foy, Justin Knowles, Eric Jones, Dom Barrett, Kim Bollaby, Francois Lavoie, my favorite. Boog, David Kroll, former guest. Cody Shoemaker, BJ Moore, Wes Malott, our buddy Marshall Kent, also a former guest, and Nate Purchase. So, obviously, the question has been asked already in the title of our stream, Johnny. Do the animal patterns need to be phased out? Have they been figured out? Obviously, we know the pros are that good. So, I mean, we don't have to go there because I watched Belmo struggle. You know, a lot of good bowlers had struggled on the Cheetah. What do you attribute all the high scores to? Obviously, this is a pattern that's been out for 20 years at this point, right? So what do you think was going on? How did these guys have such great looks? Was it the pattern? Was it the strength of equipment, talent, all three? What do you think?
It's usually a mixture of everything, but honestly, first thing I want to say about the whole thing is it's absolutely amazing to me that people just look for things to bitch at. Like, seriously, the amount of people that wake up every single day just looking for something to bitch at seems to grow every single day, and it just drives me fucking crazy, to be honest.
That's fair.
But no, I don't think they need to phase out the pattern. The Cheetah was always easy. Well, it got hard in the middle, but in the earlier stages of Cheetah was always an extremely gettable pattern. Instant friction on the gutter. As long as you could pretty much get it to the gutter, you were always going to average 240. I mean, if you go back and look at the old scoring at the old Cheetah champions and go back to 2005, 2006, 2007, scores were always astronomical on Cheetah. And progressively over time, scores got really, really good on Scorpion as well because of the amount of hold in the middle of the lane. So do I think that the biggest argument I've seen so far through people on social media is you have mediocre players talking about them being too easy, and then you have bowlers sitting there saying they're not easy, they're PBA easy, and they're this and they're that, and these are the best bowlers in the world, yada yada yada. They both have some valid points, but I think they're both missing the boat, or not at least opening their eyes to actually what is happening, because you can't sit there and tell me, here's the one side I'll play, and then I'll let you guys feed off this and we can get some views from the chat. But remember, I always like to go on both sides of the coin. I get PBA easy. I get the term, meaning it's still not as easy at a house shot. Guys, respectfully, they were. Cheetah was as easy as a house shot, if not easier. Period. I don't see any kind of argument there. I get when people say PBA easy, but if you pull up that list of 300s, every single bowler on there throws the ball completely different.
Right.
The one that I posted on my page of Zach Tackett's 297, Cody Shoemaker's 300, and Francois Lavoie's 300, all three of them completely different games, completely different releases, completely different bowling balls. It's no secret that they were soft, but what's the problem with them being soft? Spectators like to see the best in the sport do that. They like to see big numbers. I'd like to see those numbers on television just to increase our ratings a little bit.
True.
On the other side of the coin, the average Joe bowler also doesn't know how much work these guys put in, how much work they're doing with their ball drillers. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the layout that Francois Lavoie has on that Eternity Pie, but it's completely flipped upside down. The pin is like the mass bias is above his fingers and the pin is somewhere down. It was very, very, very interesting. What did Mike? Hey, Mikey, one of the best bowlers, best amateur players I've ever seen, says, I think shots should not be known ahead of time and should be changed frequently. I've always been a fan of that too. It's
You're not allowed to comment anymore, Shanky. You stay out of the chat, Shanky. You SOB. I'm not talking to you.
very,
All right,
very
JP,
nice.
take it away. Shanky in the chat. Unreal. Guy gave me the laterals for a year and a half.
I have to visit that because I need to know that story.
Yeah.
But without rambling too much here, and let's get some info from the guys in the chat, also like Mike and obviously you guys. But on the flip side of the coin is the dedication and time and studying that the players have done. I mean, if you go back again and look at the 300s, there were only 3 300s in the first round. And then in the second round, it jumped to like another 10 or another 8. So as the tournament progresses, the best in the world are going to get even better, especially on what they're bowling on. But yes, 100%. Do I think that they were extremely, extremely easy at Cheetah? Of course. Who doesn't? When it takes a 244 average to make the top 16, they're fucking easy, man. You got to average 10 strikes a game to have a shot. So you still, I mean, but again, scoring pace is relative. It's all relative to what's going on around you. If you need 250, you got to bowl 250. If you need 210 at the U.S. Open, you bowl 210 at the U.S. Open. I don't see a problem.
237 missed the check.
It's like I don't see a problem with scores being astronomical. So I don't know why. Like people want to bitch. You know what? In a situation like the Masters, and again, I'm a little bit biased here because I'm left-handed, but in the situation like the Masters, when one left-hander makes the top 64, that's something you can bitch about. I think we can all agree with that. When 5 left-handers make the TV show, that's something you guys can bitch about all the time. I get it. But why do you have to bitch if the scoring pace or the lanes are too hard? Why do you have to bitch if they're too easy? Why do you have to bitch if they're too PBA easy, if there's too many 3? People just looking like, aren't we trying to build this sport? Why are the people that are involved in it so interested in just being pissed about something involved in it? Or is that just the nature of the sport?
This goes back to my theory. No, it goes back to my theory that they couldn't play baseball, couldn't wrestle, couldn't do harder sports, and they thought they were good about it. And then we have a bunch of freaking J-bones over here. I mean for the amateur status. And then they threw a ball that had a weight block in it, big red wiffle bat. That's why it really started. I'll go to my grave with that, which is probably going to be soon, given how old I am.
Yeah, didn't Rash have like 7 IQs all drilled up?
Yeah, I mean,
it is what it is. You do whatever works.
Exactly. So
they're all different layouts. They're all different drills. I mean, it's the average bowler doesn't realize that, obviously.
But what I did notice about whatever Cheetah they're bowling on, it's definitely not the Cheetah I remember.
That's what I was thinking.
Getting it to the rail and watching it bank, and the whole goal was just getting the ball to slow down lane. I mean, in just Frankie, Cody, and Zach's game that I had posted, I mean, all 3 of them were curving it. They weren't getting it to 1-2 down lane. They were just, they were kind of more towards the middle of the lane. Now, granted, it was later in the day, so maybe they were drying out or blending, but whatever it was, yeah, it was nice to see Justin Knowles' name up there too. I'm pretty sure Tom Doherty doesn't watch my show, but I don't know what that means. You have to fill me in.
I don't think Brad Miller watches either. But
man, I wish he did though. That'd make my life.
So Sprone think it's the big wiffle bat, the version of Cheetah they're bowling on right now. I watched Belmo's vlog. I mean, he was struggling. Just chatting with his rep. He for the night squad, the second squad, he drilled up a new ball and didn't seem to work as well. He didn't like the shape that he had. I mean, here's the best in the world struggling. So I don't know exactly what issues he was having, but you can't always bowl well. It is weird to see him struggling.
And that's the part that makes it a little scary when the scores are that astronomical, because Belmo still averaged, I believe, almost 230 for the tournament, didn't
he? Yeah, he didn't bowl poorly.
But compared to the scoring pace, he was out averaged by 14 pins a game.
Yeah.
So to him, that's garbage, but it's not garbage. If you're averaging 230, you're still hitting the pocket 90% of the time.
Correct.
It's just a matter of the ball going through the pins properly, which apparently his ball wasn't. Which, I mean, it was to a certain extent because he averaged 230, but he needed to average 245. And he probably wrapping his brain around the idea that he couldn't do that. So
right.
But yeah, and that was the case for a lot of people. I mean, shit, we watched Matt Russo just demolish him the first round and then wound up finishing 18th, still averaging almost 240.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of strikes, man, that you have to throw. And kudos to the guys that did make it. And it's and as far as the show, I mean, I gotta be the first one out here to say congratulations to Dio Bernard for making his first show. I mean, his father, Rick, and I used to bowl doubles events, PBA doubles events together. And I've watched Dio grow up after being in Vegas for 12 years. And about, I want to say, what is it, like 7 years ago, he decided to go from a traditional one-handed delivery to two. And he's got the exact same mental focus that his dad does. He's kind of very, very reserved, very quiet, humble, and he just knows how to knock down pins. So I'm really looking forward. The show is a nice mix of new faces and familiar faces. We got obviously watching BJ Moore is just fun. He's just beautiful to watch. One of my favorite people in the world, Marshall Kent, leading the Cheetah. That's absolutely fabulous. So, but the other guys in the middle, I mean, I think it's Alec Keplinger, Dio Bernard, and I actually don't know the other kid's name that made it. But good luck to all the guys in the Cheetah. And for those of you that did miss the doubles event, what a hell of a show that's going to be. I mean, almost every PBA rock star is on that show. So the first stages of the World Series, I think, have a very, very, very nice variety, and it should make for good television.
I'm a little pissed that I have to wait an extra week to watch the doubles after it was taped. I mean, obviously the NCAA finals were on Sundays and Mondays, so obviously you're not going to show it on the weekend. But
sure.
But yeah, I've heard really, really good things about that show. I don't have any spoilers. I don't know who won. I don't want to know the results, but I am looking forward to it. I just hate that I have to wait that long. Yeah, no spoilers, Mike. Absolutely. The other guy you were talking about, I don't know if you mentioned, was Michael Schlebach.
Yeah, that's a kid I've actually never heard of. So it'd be very interesting to see. I mean, I guess if I had to make a bold prediction for the show, I would think that if BJ gets by the first match, I don't want to say this. I want to make sure people understand why I'm saying this the way I'm saying this. If BJ Moore makes it by the first match, he has the easiest road to the title match, I think, in his life, in the respect that he's bowling. If he gets by the first match, he's bowling 3 consecutive first-timers on television.
Yeah.
Until he gets to Marshall. So that right there, I mean, aside from Marshall, BJ is the one who's got the most experience on that show, obviously. So you take that with a little bit of grain of salt, your brain operates a little bit differently. So I look to see maybe BJ possibly running the ladder this week, or at least making it to the title match. But my heart is pulling for Dio. Actually, my heart's pulling for Marshall or Dio, but it being Dio's first show, it'd be really, really cool to see him win.
Is Marshall Kent's resurgence due to signing with Brunswick? Oh, fuck, of course, right?
Russ, I was sitting with Marshall in Vegas. I want to say this was like August of last year. It was right around the time he had been offered the contract, but he couldn't talk about it yet because it wasn't written yet. So they were in talks about this. He was overwhelmingly excited about it because, remember, he had that little stint with Big Bowling where he tried to throw the little company stuff after not being with Storm anymore. But I think with Marshall's game and the fantastic products that the Brands of Brunswick make, I mean, Marshall is so up the back and he just hammers the shit out of it from the back. And we have balls that we have an extensive variety of balls that do a lot of different things, but we certainly have is gently changing direction bowling balls. And I think it allows Marshall to play more to his strengths, whereas typically compared to, say, a Storm product, most Storm products have the tendency to store up a little bit more energy and be a little bit stronger down lane, which Marshall doesn't need. He's got enough hand naturally. So I do think that the company change, it could be contributing to his success. I think him moving again and being where he wants to be right now compared to being in Vegas was a great move for him, and he's just in a mentally good place right now.
Well, let's not discredit that he was on the show. and he's the one that actually talked about the morning stomach gurgles. So you can't tell me that he's not more relaxed about that too, that he doesn't have to hide. You don't have to hide behind your BMs. So I'm sure there's a trifecta here. Let it all bleed in and let the guy win some tourneys. I'm in.
Ocho loves that story, dude. He's going to love that
Because
story.
no in the freaking history of bowling has ever told anything like that. And we got it here on Straight Up 5. And it should be a short that gets played every other day so everyone else can relax too with the 8 a.m. squad when their stomach starts to bubble.
Dude, anybody that's ever bowled an 8 a.m. squad at a bowling tournament knows about the morning gurgle. The morning gurgle is the worst. And the worst smelling place in the world is the bowling alley at 8 a.m. in the bathroom.
That's true. No. Chuck Ritchie.
2 a.m. might also be pretty bad, but I guess 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. can rival each other.
Chuck Ritchie sent me an updated list of 300 games. I left off at Nate Purchase. We got Zach Tackett, Matt Ogle, Kyle Sherman, Ryan Simonelli, our boy, Jerice Go, and Dio had a 300 as well. So thank you. Thank you very much, Chuck, for sending me the updated list. Just updating the Scorpion standings that I'm seeing after 8 games. Rasmus Edval is leading. He is from Sweden. We got Ethan Fiore, Kyle Troop, James Blomgren, Graham Fa, Jesper, Patrick Hanrahan, Packy.
That's 4 straight lefties.
Yep. Kevin Williams, Justin Knowles,
6.
Theo Bernard,
7.
Patrick Dombrowski, Buttriff, Zachary Wilkins, EJ Tackett, Tim Foy Jr., and Nate Purchase, with Belmo just off the cut right now in 17th. So that's
well. I'll tell you what. At least there's variety at the World Series. At least
amen.
The last thing in the world you would want to see is another Masters situation where a lefty couldn't get a sniff in any event, and they seem to be well represented. So hopefully for the lefties, have a nice week, guys.
Skyers, Brad Miller did not shoot 300 yet. I'm sorry.
Brad Miller.
Brad, I'm so sorry, sir.
Did he bowl in the tournament or no? Because I thought he didn't. No, I'm not kidding. I thought he was in the PTQ this week.
Is Brad Miller actually bowling PTQs? He's not already just there?
That's what I hear.
I got a recommendation on my YouTube gimmick, and that's what I thought I saw, and I'm not sure. And then they just did the rest of the stuff about Kyle.
Well, imagine that.
They should call him Cartman at this point. Cartman and Kyle, like at least get some rub on it. But Brad's a swell guy.
He is I don't hate him.
I know you don't hate him. I'm just gonna keep promoting that for next week on Twitter.
I'm just wondering if word got around yet that Johnny doesn't like Brad Miller. I mean, all the boys on the tour talk.
I do like Brad Miller.
I'm just fucking with you.
Why don't you like him anyway?
I've told you a million times why I don't.
It's like watching Earl Anthony bowl.
No, that's not why.
Oh, that's not why? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. It's like watching the greatest bowler in history bowl. That's so bad.
My beef with him.
No, we don't want you to. We're trying to get your go. There you go, Rob.
Thanks, Coach.
I got a nice golf tan yesterday. I don't know if you could see it.
I see that. Mm-hmm. I saw your picture with JD and.
So you wore the same shirt yesterday, or the same medium?
No. This is an XL, by the way.
Oh,
are all your shirts V-neck?
It really is an XL. Want me to fucking show you?
I've never worn a V-neck.
I'm just too big, bro.
I don't have a neck, so I won't wear a V-neck.
Whatever. There's all this material here. I just have big boobs, man.
That's true. So do I.
Big man boobs.
So, well, let me ask you this, Johnny.
No.
If you don't think the animal patterns need to be phased out,
I don't.
We've had the same format for since it started, possibly like for last.
What format? What are you talking about?
With the animal patterns at the World Series, has that always been the format before the World Championship?
They usually have the animal patterns reserved for the World Series.
Okay,
if that's what you mean. There was one year where they dropped shark and they just did cheetah, viper, chameleon, scorpion. I don't even know how many they're doing this year. But it's always been, since the World Series of Bowling's introduction, it's always been a staple that the animal patterns were a part of it.
The only thing...
Hey, Shanky, you stay out of this. Here he is again. Apparently this guy bowls. This Mike Reisner is actually a bowler.
Stop yelling.
Who the cripes is he?
Stop screaming. Jesus. Well, So far, the PBA only has listed on their site the World Championship, the Cheetah, Scorpion, Shark, and the doubles. If that's all that they're doing, I don't know.
That's what they're doing this year.
Johnny has big boobs. Yes, it is official. Hashtag Musclemania. What do you think is the... Let me rephrase this. Is it time to reformat the World Series, or do you like this same format every year? Do you think they maybe should introduce different patterns? Maybe make new patterns? I mean,
they got more
clearly, like you said,
they do have different ones too.
They've got more patterns than they know what to do with it, and I feel
Right.
like a new batch of patterns comes out almost daily. It's, I mean, no, I don't think you change it because it's like the one constant we actually have.
Right.
Like, for instance, one of the reasons why the Masters is one of the greatest things in the world to watch is because the way they treat the Masters, the tradition of the Masters, the tradition of Augusta.
The pin placements are always the same every day. 1, 2, 3. On 16, it's always by the water. Jesus.
Yep. The post interview with the champion is always in the clubhouse. It's quiet. Like, everything about the Masters is consistent. And that's why it's the most watched event, because everybody knows exactly what to expect. At least with the World Series, it's the one constant every single year that hey, on the PBA Tour, it's the World Series and they have the animal patterns. There's nothing wrong. And not to mention the patterns, you can call them the same name, but they're not always the same pattern. They have changed the patterns over time, number one. And number two, topography of the bowling centers establish what zones are going to be playable on the lane and what aren't. Just because a pattern, that's why I like what Reasoner said earlier about, like, just don't even tell people about the pattern, because if they are the greatest bowlers in the world, they should be able to figure them out. Now, I do get it, because here's the flip side to that coin. It's like the greatest baseball infielders in the world, like, do they need a perfectly pristine infield that has no bad hops ever? Yeah, I mean, like, they should be able to field ground balls off of anything, But the fact that the greatest in the world are out there on a completely flat infield makes errors go way down, and they really are just unbelievable to watch. Like the one year that Cal Ripken had 3 errors for the entire season for the Orioles on shortstop. That's unheard of to only have 3 errors. But this supreme condition of the field promotes that. The same way ideal lane conditions promote scores and things along those lines. So you can only alter so much. So, like, again, I'm rambling a little bit here, but I was talking about, like, what Reasoner said as far as don't tell them the patterns. It's in this day and age, we're too far gone with that, because the new generation of bowlers is already established with that being a certain way. Like the same way my generation, most of us are like anti-string pins because it's not what we grew up on. If you took away the knowledge of patterns for today's youth that's bowling right now, they would go ballistic.
Right.
And honestly, because the game is so technology based now, even the veterans would have a hard time transitioning to it now. The ball reps would have a hell of a fucking job trying to field entire staffs if they didn't know what they were bowling on. They wouldn't know what to drill or how to drill. And the amount of bowling balls that we have nowadays, that you would never have time to get a bowling ball drilled on the truck. It would take forever. So again, there's the pros and there's cons about it all the time, however you look at it or think about it. But as far as altering, as changing the names or phasing out the animal patterns, I don't necessarily think there's a need to do that.
Ocho, your thoughts on that?
Yep.
Thanks, Ouch. You're you always bring it.
No, because if they wanted to, they could always tweak a pattern too. Like they could always, Cheetah, you throw it out to the 2 board and it comes back. Well, they could also extend it by 5 feet if they wanted to. Like there's always a little tweaking. And the difference between that and baseball is like you got a full grown in infield, you could see the manicured lawn. I remember when I was playing in baseball and it was all dirt, and I was like, man, playing at shortstop, these MFers are getting at me quick. And I was like, well, I got plenty of time to throw the dude out because I had a rocket arm, as you can see. But when I got to grass, I was like, I got to charge this shit a little bit now too. So topography is a thing if you can see it, But these guys are so good, they can see it as their ball shape is too. That's the other thing. They're a little bit of a physics major, but that's the knowledge they already have. Yep.
Good point.
Tammy said my son just said cheetah is an easing pattern.
It is. Think about it when you watch golf. There's tournaments like, I don't know, the Waste Management Open, where the scoring pace, the winner is usually like 8 under. Then there's other tournaments where like half of the top 50 players aren't even there, right? So the leaderboard is full of names that you either know a little bit or not at all. And they're like 22 under. Those guys didn't just go out and rock the fucking Valero Texas Open to go 22 under because they just like woke up one day and said, hey, this is my week. No, they're out there on ideal conditions, good pin placements, soft grounds or soft ground, whatever it is.
No rough at all. That's wide open.
Exactly.
No trees. No, it's a big course. It's like Charleston North in April.
Yeah, and then
that doesn't help anybody except Reeser.
It helps me.
Cheats at golf too.
Dude, I love the Texas.
They go 5 under around. They average 65 for 4 straight days. They go 20 under. Now you take those same players and you go to the U.S. Open where they, before the tournament even starts, they convert 2 par 5s into par 4s. So now it's a par 70.
You're at a 70.
So even if they shoot even at the end of the rounds, at the end of the 4 rounds, they're +8. So if they shoot 3 under a day, it actually equates to 1 under a day, which is why you usually see one person under at the U.S. Open. It's all relative to what is in front of them and what is set up. And in bowling, it's so much more pronounced because at least in golf, what's set up is set up. Those are the elements. The only thing that can change it right now is wind, rain, something that we're not doing to create, something that just happens. Whereas in bowling, the variables that are set down from the first shot that is thrown, it's completely null and void. Completely. So it's ever changing. So that's kind of the comparison I would give when you're looking at scoring pace at, say, like the U.S. Open or Cheetah, where, yes, if you give the best bowlers in the world 3 boards of miss room at the arrows, if they can miss 3 boards in the front part of the lane, which means they can probably miss up to like almost 8 or 9 boards down lane, of course they're all going to fucking average 240. That's what they mean when they say PBA easy compared to regular easy. But we see it in league all the time. I'm 240 at Carolier and I'm 220 at Howell. I don't just suck at Howell and I'm good at Carolier. There's a lot of different elements that contribute as to why I'm so much lower at Howell. So anyway, go on.
Brett says the pattern is akin to pin placement. Volume is akin to stimp meter read.
Yeah, it's true. It's right.
I was going to say something, then I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, that's that. Oh, why do you think Belmo was having so many issues? He literally said the same thing you did. These guys have so much miss room. What am I doing wrong?
He probably didn't take his. This is going to sound stupid, but he probably didn't take his hand out of the ball enough, which it sounds stupid for me to say. But the guys that we're hitting it don't have the rev rate, right? Or was he too deep?
I actually haven't watched much this week, so I can't tell you from visibly looking, but I probably would guess what happened with Belmo is I think that he was maybe kind of stuck in the middle. Do I go left or do I go right? Do I slow curve it more even though my brain tells me not to? Because again, it all comes down to his carry. Because he's not being out averaged by 40 or 50 pins. He's missing these cuts close, and they're only taking 16, He's only missing the top quarter of the field by a couple pins a game. And that's got to be very, very frustrating for the greatest player the game's, like one of the greatest.
Or maybe that means he is kind of aiming and not throwing a little bit. When they always told you, like, you don't aim it when you're pitching or something, or when you're throwing it, you throw it. Because aiming is like for darts or something. Throwing is a different feel. So could be of course, him and I are tight. So could be something like
it's that. Something as simple as
and they're not carry because he pitched
you can't
instead
get
of
that one extra hit a game. That's really all it is.
He had some weird leaves. He had the 3 in the right, the big 3 in the right, and the 2 in the left. What is that? The
It sounds like a Greek
6,
church.
9, 10. Yeah, pretty much a Greek church.
Mhm.
He left that twice, from what I saw. Left a lot of 10 pins. It could have been just the angle of the pocket. It seemed like he carried more when the ball hit light, and when he hit flush, it was 10 pin, 10 pin. From what I saw in his vlog, and again, they don't show all of his shots. He was kind of playing in the middle and like swinging it out to 10. And when he went left, he didn't have the shape that he wanted. So he tried, drilling a new ball, and that didn't seem to work. Again, he didn't bowl poorly. That's the thing. Like, he bowled.
Well, he averaged
Right. So
231, I think.
when I say
something
Belmo
like
was
that.
struggling, I'm saying compared to everybody shooting, standing under heads, it is what it is. But
Now, first of all, I think a light carry is the best freaking carry ever
That's what I'm
because
saying.
the pins fly. I freaking love that. They're bouncing off of things. Good for them. It looks like trampoline running there.
to me, it's a
freaking
better
love it.
mix. And
that's
to
the only
me, you won't
carry.
leave as many 10 pins.
Well, that's the only thing I have. That's all I
Can
got.
somebody perfect hitting light and get more strikes, John? You think they would try that, right?
No.
Wasn't that like Dick Weber's like the whole thing about? I don't know enough about
Listen,
it.
if you're carrying the Wallies, it's great, but nobody's ever going to line up the same way nobody would ever line up to go Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Even though I strike every time I go Brooklyn, I should just aim and go. No, you shouldn't. Just stop.
Because you've never aimed for Brooklyn, you fucked up, and that's why you went Brooklyn.
Because then it's the other moves also. Like how do you move off of if you're playing the light hit and you wash out? Like, is it really that bad of a shot?
Right.
Or 2-8-10 or something, or like
Scars, you're right. That's pretty much that's pretty much what I was getting to. But again,
it's literally what we said. It's entry angle and carry percentages down.
But Ocho's point was actually kind of correct. Belmo likes to aim more than just throw it out and let it go. Like, he's super, super duper accurate.
I don't know that he does. I don't know if that's what it was. Like, because
No, but
he totally
I've noticed
a lot
that,
of things about it.
Belmo's adapted his game to his surroundings a lot since 2008. Back on his first ever TV show, Cheetah was on the right lane. You guys remember Belmo throwing the white Belmo plastic ball on the right lane?
Of course.
He was very, very vocal back then that the one way he felt he could be stopped is if you put out Cheetah. Because at that point, you take away everything that is Belmo. And Belmo's still great at playing the gutter, which what you had to do on Cheetah. But Belmo was doing it with plastic balls long before everybody's doing it with urethane balls. But I like what you said about aiming, because as he's developed his game, Belmo has the tendency nowadays to roll the ball a lot more and try and be very, very, very precise, whereas he used to be a little erratic. We saw it happen with Tommy Jones as he got older. We saw it happen with Bill. If you go look at old school Bill O'Neill compared to now, it's night and day the way that he let the ball go. I mean, he was so over the top aggressive when he was younger at the bottom. People don't even realize that about Bill. But all the guys, the students of the game, they seem as the years progress to kind of be falling into that. I want my ball to be on the lane longer. I want to roll it. I want to see it gently change direction. I want it to have the right migration path. We don't see the, aside from when guys have to get in front of the ball return, we don't see the guys throwing, fireballs down the lane anymore and banking the whole lane. We see a lot of control. You see it in Kyle Troop as a prime example. Very, very, very controlled, even though he's two-handed. But again, as far as Belmo's performance this week, he's still got time. But if he's leaving ringing tens when he moves in, and he's leaving ringing tens when he balls up, that could actually equate to being an issue for the entire time, because he may not just he just may not see that building properly. That building may not like his ball roll.
Yeah, that's a them issue, not even a him issue.
I know once he gets into the arena bay, he's fine, even though they do have new lane surface in the arena bay also. But yeah, he's always kicked ass in the bay, which means he has to kick ass in the main bay to some extent to even make it to the show once they're in the arena. So, and again, it's a lot of games this week, man, and you can't allow one missed opportunity to screw your whole month or your whole few
Sure.
weeks with the other events.
Sure. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You brought up something which I kind of want to throw an analogy at you or a comparison to see if that's exactly the same thing. You mentioned Belmo and like Tommy Jones changing their game. Is that because of a physical thing? Like they have to? And the analogy I want to use is say like Maddox and Glavin when they couldn't overpower the batters anymore, they painted the corners. They got more accurate. They aimed the ball more because they didn't have the stuff anymore. Is that
It's
the same thing ish?
It's close. I think you see a trend with a lot of guys that get to around, say, age 40, where they really are, I want to say they're gentlemen. They're like, they've gone through the ringer. They already know what to expect, what not to expect, and they handle themselves so well around that age. And like, take a guy like Sean Resch. That's another one who was just a fireballer and would just bang on it at the bottom. And now Sean's game is very, very disciplined. Chris Barnes is another one. They have very, very disciplined games as the years progress. I think it's partially due to what has to be done out there to be successful, because the game of 2005 is completely different than the game of 2024. The same way the 80s were totally different than the 90s. But you see guys like that, they all trend the same way. It's got to be partially physical, because as we get older, we lose flexibility. I know I'm starting to lose some flexibility in my fingers. I get a little numbness in my legs sometimes. My lower back is always fucking hurting. It's amazing. All this shit never happened when I wasn't weightlifting. It's only when I weightlifted that I have all these injuries now.
Right.
But no, it's I do believe that the migration path as the years progress is it's kind of just human nature in general. I think now the greats are the guys that have followed this path for as many years as you can remember. Guys like Pete Weber, Walter Ray, Parker Bone, Jason Couch, guys that not only went and through everything they had to go through, but they were still successful as anybody in the transition. And what's happened since, like I said, it's no longer about the super high speed these days. It's more about down lane motion and how to produce it. And that's the guys that are being successful out there. And that's what guys like Belmo are doing now.
That's fair. That's fair enough. What do you look forward to seeing the rest of the week? Do you think scores will stay high? Will there be a difference when it gets to the Shark?
I don't think you're going to, over the years, I don't think you're going to see any tournament leaders averaging 250 for the remainder of the events. Typically, Scorpion is high scoring, not as high scoring as Cheetah. And I know that Shark is typically a little bit lower scoring. But again, the guys are so good nowadays, and with the rev rates that they have and their ability to cover the lane as much as they do, they'll probably whack Shark this year too. But the scores will be relatively high for the remainder of the World Series, simply because Thunderbowl is a striking building. It's a good place to bowl. It's a beautiful, well manicured and well maintained center, and the pins like to fall there. When I stayed with Ryan Simonelli, I'll never forget it. My first game ever in a PBA event at the World Series, I was throwing a Twisted Fury, and I bowled 289 the first game with the front 10 on Cheetah, right after me and Ryan had made the finals of the Cheetah sweeper the night before.
Wow.
So, if I go out in my first PBA World Series and I'm on the front 10, as fucking shaky as I am, you know you can strike at Thunderbolt.
Yeah. And speaking of Simonelli, he's bowling very well right now. Actually, he's after 8 games, he was just below the cut, but I mean, he's been up there during both rounds or both patterns. So, and like you said, other lefties are up there too. So it's good to see different people up towards the top.
It's definitely time to maximize it on this few weeks while you have the opportunity to, because you don't know what's going to happen the next event.
You're absolutely right. I found a funny post I just want to throw up here from
the shirt's in XL.
When should you clean your balls? And no, that's not a manscaping promo. Like back in the day, I never even thought about it. In fact, I don't even know if I've ever cleaned any of my equipment. I just fucking let it go out there.
Whether that's a manscaping thing or not, I feel like that holds true.
Is it that important, Johnny?
So here's my take. Number one, it's hard to ask me this question because I'm so spoiled. Like most staffed players,
Right.
you don't typically see a staffer using like a cleaning spray and a towel, right?
Yeah.
You just don't see it.
Right.
The only thing you ever see them do is hit it with an Abralon pad
Right.
to change the surface, right? And it's kind of because, you know, they say after 30 games or so is on a bowling ball, it begins to lose its luster. By the time you get 30 games on a bowling ball as a staffer, there's 10 more that you have to drill already, like at your house.
Right.
I've always been spoiled in the respect that I've never even considered putting a cleaner on my bowling ball. Not once. And never, ever, ever will at this point. I do appreciate people that aren't staffed, and like my teammate Nick D'Ambrosio, every single Monday night, he has 3 bowling balls. He just picked up a Deviate Hater, but his go-to ball is the Radical Innovator Solid. And every single Monday, like clockwork, and I'm assuming he does it on Thursdays too, Oach, he's cleaning the surface of that bowling ball every single time. And you would assume over time, just like anything else, if you keep it clean, it will prolong its life. There's the other side of the coin of people that think that cleaners like that actually clog the pores of the bowling ball and change the roll completely. So,
well, what do you? I mean, do you know? Like, is that a thing?
I think cleaning agents are good. I don't necessarily think that you need them. I mean, you could very easily make a solution yourself at home that doesn't cost you $20 a bottle. But I personally, I would never, but I don't fault anybody that does. I don't think there's any documented proof that any cleaner restricts the actual pores in the cover of the bowling ball, thereby changing its migration path. I'm not using that word too much tonight, those 2 words. And you do.
Well, now we got the spoiled, pompous view of, you know, bowling, and you know, you're like the guy who gets golf lessons and gets a home golf course and gets to hit out of the bunker whenever he wants to, and us freaking J-Bones have to actually play golf once a week or whenever to hit out of a bunker, and then we got freaking guys like Mike Reisner giving us the laterals. This is bullshit. What about guys who have bowling balls that are 15 years old?
Here's a perfect.
Here's
a perfect comparison for you. I have 1 set of golf clubs. I love my golf clubs. I clean them, the grooves every single time before and after I play. I double check that I did the right work, but I clean my grooves on my clubs every single time.
You can clean the number out too, right? So the 7 looks perfect.
I absolutely never, ever let my driver head touch the ground, like in like my house or my garage, and never let it fall. I protect my golf clubs, right? And I will spend a decent amount of time looking for a $4 golf ball that I may have pushed into the woods. I don't think that way with bowling stuff. With bowling stuff, like what I did when I went to Vegas, I went out there with 3 checked bags, found out the 3rd checked bag was $150. So instead of bringing all 3 bags home, I just found random people in the crowd at USBCs and gave away 3 bowling balls in a bag. JD is right, though. I can't ever seem – he's one of those people that puts everything in order. Like
you add 100. If you don't, if I don't, I hate you.
Then you and JD should start playing golf together, and I'll stay at home with you.
I got 3 wood hybrid, and then I got 3, 4. No, I don't have a 3 iron. 4, 5, 6. I have 7, 8, 9. Wedge.
My clubs butter. Look like when you buy asparagus in the grocery store before you take.
And they're just all flamed around everywhere.
Just like this.
How often do you regrip?
So that's another great one. I've regripped this current set of irons that I have once. I bought Ionic grips online because I saw a lot of the tools.
Not the Golf Pride?
No, I tried the Golf Pride. I tried the Wind Dry Tax, but
they're a little thick too, the Golf Pride.
But you'll see a couple random pros. They're called Ionics, and they are extremely like the right kind of. I like sticky grips, and they're tacky and they've held up pretty well. But honestly, I've never changed other than that one time.
On to our next golf question. Let's say you're in a golf outing.
So for Ocho, who's
his
got
name, it freaking blasts one off the hosel, and he laughs about it and then starts saying the word. Let's just say this happened in real life. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. And then the next two people who haven't hit one off the hosel in years blast it off the hosel. Is Mike Reisner to blame? And just the answer is yes. And let's everybody out Mike Reisner for doing that. Apparently he's a bowler. I had no clue. I taught him how to play golf, and then he gave me the laterals. Mike, you better still be in here.
I'm sure he is.
The one night he's in here. He's never coming back again.
It sounds very personal. That's a grudge you've been keeping.
Let's just say that happened. Whose fault is it, is what I want to know.
We'll blame Mike.
It's not his fault.
We'll blame Mike Reisner for you.
All right, so
and then let's just say that if he saw a pro of the one and he texted, hey, did you see that S word? And I'd say, wrong number. You're blocked. And he'd say, you can't block me. I have an app on my phone. Mike doesn't have an app on his phone. Is it still his fault?
Can we just say yes?
Yeah, of course you're supposed to say yes. What kind of a fucking answer is that?
Sounds good. Ding, 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 ding.
Christ.
Let's get into the imbecile of the week.
Nice.
It's Mike.
It's time for everybody's favorite segment.
If you guys don't know how to use a seatbelt, just ring your call button and Tommy will come back there and hit you on the head with a tack hammer.
You know, Lloyd, just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
Here's the imbecile of the week.
Some people are really stupid.
It's been a slow week, so I'm going to use something that I clipped from last week, during the Masters. PBA posted this shot. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was an easy split. It was the what was it, just 3-7-10, I believe it was. He shot it and walked away, didn't even look at it because he knew he had it when he threw the ball, and it was a pretty cool shot. It was just a walk-off. So we had some comments. Obviously, the Belmo haters. I want you guys to decide, Johnny, Ocho, and the chat, who do you think had the worst comment? Let's lead off with Twiggy Twig Taylor Johnson. Two-hand people should not play. Hell no. Cheating to me. I'm left-handed. I love one-handed bowling.
Hey, it's his opinion. I don't have a problem with that guy. I actually love his name.
I have a problem with his name is the problem, but
Twiggy Twig.
Our next, Ryan Kindler, the best bowler to not be a real
Ryan,
bowler.
suck my dick.
Is he not real?
Sorry for any children watching. Don't use phrases like that. Sorry.
I think he might be in the running. Chris Muscarello, douche.
He's Italian. I'm going to let him slide.
Okay, that's fair. Caden Arnold, I can do that with one hand, but you have to use two hands to pick it up, laughing.
No, you can't, Jesus. You cannot. You can't pick it up with one hand. You'd have to take 10 tries out of it.
All right, so Twiggy is out and Muscarello's out because he's Italian. So it's between Ryan Kindler, the best bowler to not be a real bowler. Let's get our chat involved here.
All right.
Well, we have 3 minutes to fill up.
I kind of forgot about Ryan Kindler because this one's pretty shitty too.
Well, I mean, what does he mean by that?
What's a real bowler?
I guess according to those people, real bowlers.
Those people
with
those
people, yeah. Those people. Apparently, if you have,
can you go underneath and do that?
Ball,
Can you go down?
He wants his upper chest. He's been doing incline barbell, probably.
All I see are his boobs right now.
Filling out, man.
Oh, jeez. Didn't they cure polio years ago? What happened, man? I thought you
know
were
what that means, but I like it.
Christ. No, it's an insult. It's supposed to be bad. Sorry.
Apparently, everyone in the chat is drinking.
Not a bowling cranky, but cranky.
No one's paying attention. So, yeah, that's got. I agree. Plus, he has
He's got Jesus freaking out with the freaking crown of thorns on the cross, probably with his freaking pecker hanging out because they didn't put a big loincloth on.
Meanwhile, I don't use two hands to pick up a bowling ball, so I definitely can't get behind Caden's statement.
Okay.
Yeah, fuck him.
Getting back to what those people say, like what does dude really mean by it? Like I know he's meaning.
I have
two hands.
Talking, so No,
Sorry.
it's cool.
Sorry.
It's cool.
No, go back to the other. The other one said 2 hands. I have 2 hands.
I can do that with one hand, but you have to use 2 hands to pick it up.
The one said 2-handed.
I don't use
something
2
or
hands
other.
to pick up the ball off the ball return. I use 2 fingers on one hand and I flip it up.
I actually use my thumb to pick it up. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you don't have a
People
thumb ball,
that
what do you
write
use?
shit like that have been trained to believe that bowling is traditional and standard for one hand, 3 fingers in the ball. So the second hand becomes the acting thumb hole, and it's like, oh shit, you're a cheater. You're not a real member.
Is that how they determine it? That the second hand is the thumb hole? Is that really like points of contact or something?
When you're
I didn't know that.
two-handed, your opposite hand becomes the same thing that your thumb does if you're one-handed.
Right, because there's no hole clearly, so I didn't know it was even described.
That's
like
why
that.
you see so many two-handers and so few no-thumbers. You know, other than guys like myself, Tom Doherty, Jim Pratt, Mike Miller, there really aren't any other thumbless bowlers.
You have thumbs.
And typically the guys that can stabilize with the one hand have a very, very hard time throwing it two-handed. I throw it at least 5 miles an hour slower.
Well, let me ask you this: is your
10 miles faster than me?
Is your forearm your third point of contact then, maybe, or whatever they call? Honestly, this is very new to me. So that would be your thumb hole, technically, or your thumb.
My forearm becomes my guidance chip. So I'll just, when I'm resting, it's laying right here, and then I tuck it when I come up, and then I unleash it like a yo-yo when I let it go.
You have to.
All right, we have 400.
You kind of have to, really.
Yeah, we have 452 votes for Ryan. We have 1 vote for Twiggy. We had 1 vote for Ocho. So it looks like it's pretty much unanimous.
For me.
Ryan Kindler, you are the imbecile of the week. Enjoy it. Oh, sorry, that's not him. That's
Jesus Christ.
The best bowler to not be a real bowler. You're the imbecile of the week, Ryan. Enjoy it. You're in great company with Doc Sullivan and
didn't Stan make it a few times, or is he just
Stan? Well, Stan.
You guys have a soft
Stan
spot for
should've.
Stan, and I don't. I think Stan's a stain, is what I think.
Stan's kind of a douche, but I mean,
I'm a douche, but I'm
like him.
Pleasant and charming. Stan's just Stan, whose name is Dan.
Brian Gaskell says, "Hey guys, shout out to Litchy for extending his NEBA all-time leading title total to number 32 over the weekend." We got to get Litchy on the show.
That would be,
Johnny.
Of all the people we had on our show, that would be the icing on the cake for me to get Litchy on here.
I'm not in contact with him anymore, but
you do to piss
I do
him
know
off?
a few people. I mean, it's been, you don't want to know. It's a long story.
Don't tell us.
No, just kidding. Yeah, we'll definitely try to. I've had several people ask to get Litchy on the show, so we'll definitely try to make that happen. All right, Mr. Petraglia, anything? Oh, by the way, there's a possibility I might be coming to Clearwater for the senior event.
I've got my PTO and I will be there. We'll just go fuck with Jeff Skyers the whole time.
Yes, we will. In fact, if I can swing it and get time off of work, he's going to put me up for a couple days down there. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. So that should be fun. We're thinking of possibly finding a way to maybe do the show, because the stepladder is that Wednesday night. Maybe do the show after the finals and possibly get the winner on. I think we're going to try to work that out. But we'll talk about it next few weeks here offline.
All right.
I just want to throw it out there that looking forward to seeing you in person and meeting your dad face to face. Dude, the fucking lineup is stacked. Hold on. Let me just pull it up real quick here, and I'll give you some of the names for our chat of who's going to be there, because it is
the senior tour is no joke.
No,
I love that it is no joke. Robert Smith as one of them.
Yes. Skyers sent me the list. Okay. Tom Adcock, Gary Alstott, Curtis Anderson, Kevin Anderson, Jeff Atkins, Stephen Badinovic.
Like the diet?
That guy. Joe Barna, Chris Barnes, Marty Burke, Parker Bone III, David Bourlier, Don Breeden, Dino Castillo, Jason Couch, Anthony Cruz, Jair Dartora. I'm going to butcher some of these names.
You don't
John
have
Delaney,
to read
Peter
the whole
Dolan
roster.
Jr. let me get to the good guy. Well, I mean, I don't want to leave anybody out and be a fucking asshole.
If anybody wants
Frank
to see the
Gallo Jr.
roster, they can go to
hack.
PBA.com, but it's like 100 names on that list, and you're in the C's.
Michael Hagen's going to be there.
Haugen.
Tom
Haugen.
Hagen.
Tom Hagen's from The Godfather. His name is Michael Haugen.
You're such a dick, Rob.
John Janowitz.
Seriously, that's like the 15th time you did that. Fuck.
It's a running joke. Jeff Johnson, John Janowitz, Rudy Rez is going to be there. I haven't seen Rudy in
Robert Smith.
so long. Robert Smith, Bob Learn's going to be there. Amleto, Walter Ray, John Petraglia. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
It's so weird that they use his name on the senior site as John.
Yeah, I know. Chuck Ritchie will be there, our boy. Who else we got here? Vrako Stoyanov. Dude, that guy's a fucking legend, let me tell you. Pete Weber's going to be there. Pete Weber's going to be there. So, yeah, I mean, Danny Wiseman. It's going to be a good show. Really good show. Oh, Joe, where'd you go? We're wrapping up the show and you left.
Yep.
All right, Johnny. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, just looking forward to actually seeing all the shows and watching the rest of the World Series. And we got the Masters this week, so it's the greatest week of the year coming up. So going to be glued to the television. Very, very simple for me, guys. It's fucking gym, Masters, sleep, work, and bowl twice.
Nico, I'm sorry. I did have him on the show, and I can't get his name right. It's a running joke.
No, nobody's joking. You're just a dick.
Troy's going to be there. Yes,
our
our
forget
best
him
friend
too.
Troy.
Jesus Christ!
I said his name.
Oh,
I just cut him off because he started reading the roster.
Yeah, I was here. No, I was literally here.
150 guys on that roster.
And he was on freaking. He was on A. He was like AA Ron was going to be there, and Jesus Christ. No, I had to back out because I'm getting blown up by every chick in the chat, and they're like, "Can you please?" I'm like, "I can't. I'm sweaty. Just let me back out a little bit." And they're like, "Okay, well, I'm leaving as soon as you leave." So, sorry, ladies. There's plenty of Ocho to go around.
The PBA 50 Johnny Petraglia BVL Open will be May 19th through the 22nd at Maple Lanes Countryside in Clearwater. For those of you interested.
Excellent.
Tickets are on sale now. Go to anyway. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Way to get the plugs in, Rob. Way to get us in there. That way to promote. Good job, buddy.
It's literally been at the bottom of the screen the entire time.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, what about the people who are listening on audio? It's in the description and the link to the podcast.
Good job.